However, Freud is credited with drawing attention to the vast unconscious, the irrational, the importance of human sexuality in our development and functioning, and the tension between our biological impulses and social restraints. Freud's supporters will continue to note that some of his ideas are enduring. And one thing that is lasting about Freud's legacy is he challenged our self-righteousness, exposed our self-protective defenses, and reminded us of our potential for evil. How has modern research developed our understanding of the unconscious? Many research psychologists now think of the unconscious as information processing that occurs without awareness. The unconscious involves schemas, priming, right hemisphere activity, implicit memories, emotions, and stereotypes. Research does support two of Freud's defense mechanisms, reaction formation and projection. We are now going to change gears and talk about humanistic theories, which is in some ways the opposite of Freud's theory, since humanistic theories believe that individuals have control over how they develop and how they function. So how did humanistic psychologists view personality, and what was their goal in studying personality? By the 1960s, there was discontent with psychodynamic theory and B.F. Skinner's behaviorism. And one of the issues with Skinner's behaviorism is Skinner did not believe in the concept of free will. In numerous interviews, B.F. Skinner is seen or heard talking that free will is an illusion, that we are really slaves to our environment. The reinforcement or punishment that exists will influence our behavior and how we act. Two pioneers offered a third force perspective to Freud and Skinner, and that is Abraham Maslow and Carl Rogers. Humanistic personality psychologists view personality with a focus on the potential for healthy personal growth. They pay attention to the way people strive for self-determination and self-realization and study people through their own self-reported experiences and feelings. The humanistic perspective is credited with the explosion and growth of the self-help. Abraham Maslow proposed that people are motivated by a hierarchy of needs, and after one's needs are met, they strive towards self-actualization and later self-transcendence. According to Maslow, self-actualization is one of the ultimate psychological needs that arises after basic physical and psychological needs are met and self-esteem is achieved. It is really the motivation to fulfill one's potential. Maslow developed his ideas by studying healthy, creative people rather than troubled ones, which is a departure from what Freud had studied. Carl Rogers agreed with much of Maslow's thinking and developed a person-centered perspective. He posited that growth-promoting environments require three conditions: genuineness, acceptance, and empathy. Rogers also came up with the concept of unconditional positive regard and self-concept that are key components of the theory. Unconditional positive regard, according to Rogers, is an attitude of total acceptance toward another person. Self-concept is all our thoughts and feelings about ourselves and the question, who am I? This is different than Freud, who thought to evaluate the statements that people stated. And according to Rogers, if you want to help or assist someone reach their full potential, regardless of what they tell you, you must have an attitude of total acceptance or unconditional positive regard. So how did humanistic psychologists assess a person's sense of self? Humanistic psychologists sometimes assess personality using questionnaires to evaluate their self-concept. One questionnaire inspired by Rogers had people describe their ideal and their actual selves. This could later be used to judge progress during therapy. Some humanistic psychologists rejected any standardized assessments and relied on interviews and intimate conversations to understand each person's unique experience. Some modern personality researchers believe our identity may be helpfully revealed by using the life story approach. We can see the influence of humanistic theories on psychology through their pervasive impact with the influence on counseling, education, child raising, and management. They laid the groundwork for Martin Seligman's positive psychology, and they influenced much of today's popular psychology, and they renewed the interest in the concept of self. A caveat to this is some criticisms of humanistic psychology include a over-focus on self-esteem and possibly promoting unhealthy levels of self-esteem in younger individuals. Some additional criticisms of the humanistic perspective is that they present vague and subjective concepts, they advance individualism and self-centered values, and they offer naively optimistic assumptions. This brings us to the end of Module 38 on classical perspectives and personality. Please be sure to review this PowerPoint again, as the quiz questions will be developed from the PowerPoint.